My son forgot to hang up the phone. We had just finished a normal conversation, the kind we had almost every day. He asked how I was doing, if I had taken my medication, if I needed anything. I told him everything was fine, that he should not worry. He said goodbye with an "I love you, Mom" that filled my chest with warmth. I set the phone down on the kitchen table and turned around to pour myself a cup of tea. But the phone did not disconnect. The screen was still lit up, and then I heard his voice again. Only this time, he was not talking to me. He was talking to Jessica, my daughter-in-law. "Just wait until the bank approves the loan for $180,000 in my mom's name. Then we are going to take the money and run. We will keep it all." I stood paralyzed with the kettle in my hand. The world stopped. My heart stopped beating for a second that felt like an eternity. $180,000 in my name. Run away. Keep it all. But he did not know I was listening to every word. Jessica's voice responded with a laugh I had never heard before. A cold, calculating, cruel laugh. She asked how long until the bank gave the final approval. Liam told her 2 weeks, maybe 3. That everything was going perfectly. That I had signed the preliminary papers without asking a single question. That it was so easy to manipulate me it was laughable. My hands trembled. I almost dropped the kettle. I had to lean against the counter to keep from collapsing right there. Every word coming out of that phone was a death sentence for everything I had believed about my life, about my family, about my son. Jessica asked what they would do with me afterward. And Liam's answer shattered my soul into pieces, so small I thought I could never put them back together. "It does not matter. Once we have the money, we are gone. She stays here with the debt, with the mortgaged house, alone. By then we will be in another state, maybe another country." My daughter-in-law laughed again. She said it was about time, that she was tired of pretending she liked me, that she was sick of coming to visit, of listening to my stories, of pretending she cared about my boring, lonely old life. She said I had served my purpose, and now they could finally get rid of me. Liam agreed. He said he was also exhausted from acting like the devoted son, that it made him sick to have to hug me, that he was repulsed by kissing my cheek, that every time he told me "I love you," he wanted to vomit. I felt like I was drowning, like the air had turned solid and could not enter my lungs. I let myself fall into the nearest chair. Tears began to roll down my cheeks uncontrollably, silent, burning, loaded with a pain I had never experienced. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I am 64 years old. I have been a widow for 11 years, since I lost my husband in a construction accident that left me alone in this house that is too big for one person. Since then, Liam has been my only reason for living, my only son, the man in whom I deposited every hope, every dream, every drop of love left in my body. And now I was discovering that it had all been a lie. I kept listening because I could not move, because even though every word killed me a little more, I needed to know how deep the betrayal went. Liam told Jessica the details. That he had forged my signature on additional documents the bank had requested. That he had used my personal data, my impeccable credit score, my house as collateral, all without me knowing a thing, all behind my back. He said the home equity loan was already in the final approval stage. That he had lied to the bank, telling them the money was for urgent home renovations and for my medical expenses. That the idiots had believed it all because a 64-year-old lady with a good credit history never raises suspicions. Jessica asked if I suspected anything. Liam laughed. He said no. That I was too naive, too needy for affection. That the only thing I wanted was to feel loved, to feel important to someone, and that made me the perfect victim. He was right. That was exactly what I wanted. To feel loved. To feel that I still mattered to someone in this world. But I never imagined my own son would use that need as a weapon to destroy me. They talked about the practical details, about how they would transfer the money to offshore accounts as soon as they received it, about how they already had contacts who would help them move the cash without leaving a trace. Jessica mentioned she had started packing her valuables little by little so as not to raise suspicions when the moment came to disappear. Liam said that in a month, 2 at the most, they would be living their new life. Far away from me, far away from this town, far away from the burden I represented to them. And I would stay here, facing the banks, the lawyers, the debt collectors. Ruined, destroyed, alone. Jessica asked if I would have any way to pay the debt. Liam answered no. That my only income was my Social Security check and the savings I had left, which would not even reach enough to cover the interest. That I would probably lose the house, that I would end up on the street or begging for help from some distant relative who barely knew me, and he did not care. My son did not care if his mother ended up in misery. On the contrary, he sounded almost satisfied when he said it. I do not know how long I sat there, with the phone broadcasting my own death sentence. Finally, Liam must have noticed something on his cell screen because suddenly he went quiet. I heard a curse word, realizing the call was still active, and then the sound of the disconnection. The silence that followed was deafening. I stayed staring at that phone as if it were a cursed object, as if it had just transmitted a message from hell. My hands were shaking so much I had to interlace them on my lap to make them stop. The tears would not stop falling. I cried for the mother I had been, for the years I had given, for the sleepless nights when Liam was little and had a fever, for the 2 jobs I held down for years so he could go to a good prep school and university, for my husband's jewelry I sold to pay for his books, his clothes, his whims. I cried for the money I gave them when they got married, for the down payment on their first condo that came out of my savings, for the 8 months during the pandemic when I supported them while they were not working, 8 months where they lived off my pension and the little I had left, while I ate the bare minimum so they would lack nothing. I cried for every hug I had believed was real, for every I love you that I now knew was pure theater, for every visit I thought was because they missed me, when in reality they were just waiting for the perfect moment to deal the final blow. I felt like the stupidest woman on the planet. How did I not see it coming? How did I not notice something was wrong? How could I be so blind, so naive, so pathetically needy for love that I did not see the trap until I was completely inside it? I cried until I had no more tears left, until my body was exhausted and my throat burned. And then, in the middle of that terrible void, something else began to grow inside me. It was rage. Pure, cold, crystalline rage. It was not the kind of rage that makes you scream or break things. It was something deeper, more dangerous. It was the rage of a woman who had given everything and now discovered her generosity had been interpreted as weakness, that her love had been seen as stupidity, that her trust had been used as a tool for her own destruction. I wiped my tears. I took a deep breath, and in that moment, I made a decision that would change everything. I was not going to confront them. Not yet. I was not going to let them know I had discovered their plan, because if I did, they would find another way to hurt me. They would change strategy. They would become more careful. And they would probably end up achieving their goal anyway. No, I had to be smarter than them. I had to think. I had to plan. I had to become something I had never been before. I had to become their worst nightmare. That night I could not sleep. I stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling, reliving every moment of the last few years. Every memory I had treasured as something precious was now tinged with a different light, a dark light that showed me the truth I had been denying myself to see. Liam was born when I was 26. It was a difficult pregnancy. I was on bed rest the last 4 months because the doctor feared I would lose him. My husband worked 12 hours a day so I could stay home and take care of myself. When Liam was finally born, I thought he was the most beautiful gift life could give me. I raised him with all the love in the world. When he was 5, his father died in a workplace accident. A steel beam fell wrong at a construction site and crushed him. He died instantly. It left me alone with a small child, a house with a mortgage, and barely enough money to survive 2 months. I could have given up. Many people told me to give Liam to my sister Patty, who had a better financial situation, to do it for his own good. But I could not. He was my son, my reason to keep breathing after losing my husband. So I got 2 jobs. During the day, I worked as a secretary in an accounting firm. At night, I cleaned offices downtown. I slept 4 hours, sometimes 3. Liam stayed with a neighbor who charged me almost nothing because she felt sorry for my situation. I would get home at 2 in the morning, check that he was okay, sleep a little, and by 6, I was already up making him breakfast. That is how I lived for years. My body began to deteriorate. I developed back problems from carrying so much weight cleaning. My knees began to fail me. But it did not matter, because Liam grew up healthy, happy, with good grades in school, and that made it all worth it. When he turned 15, he wanted to go to a private prep school. His friends were going there, and he did not want to be left behind. The tuition was almost double what I earned in a month. I had to sell the few pieces of jewelry my husband had given me. A gold necklace he gave me on our anniversary, pearl earrings that belonged to my mother, a ring with a small emerald that was my most prized possession. I sold them all, and with that money, I paid for his first year at that school. Liam was so happy he hugged me and told me I was the best mother in the world, that when he grew up he would pay me back for everything, that he would buy me a bigger house, that he would take me on a trip, that I would never have to work so hard again. I believed him. I clung to those promises as if they were the only thing keeping me alive. He kept studying. He got into university, an expensive, prestigious university. I had to take out a loan to pay for his first semester, then another for the second. I worked double shifts for 4 years to keep him in school. I sold my husband's car that I had kept as a keepsake. I sold furniture. I sold everything that had any value. Liam graduated with honors. That day I cried with happiness. I thought finally all the sacrifice had been worth it, that my son would have a better future than mine, that he would never go through the hardships I had gone through. He got a good job. He made good money, but he never offered financial help. At first, I thought it was normal, that he needed to establish himself, save, build his own life. I kept working, paying off the debts I had acquired for his education, but I did not complain. He was my son. I had done it for love. Then he met Jessica. He introduced her to me at a family lunch. She was pretty, polite, nice. I liked her from the first moment. She told me she admired strong women like me very much, that her own mother had died when she was a teenager, and she had always wished for a maternal figure in her life. I opened my heart. I welcomed her like the daughter I never had. When they got engaged, Liam asked me for help with the down payment on the condo. He said that between the two of them, they could not scrape together enough. I took $15,000 out of my savings, almost everything I had left after years of work. I gave it to them without thinking twice. It was for my son's happiness, for his future, so he could form his own family in a decent home. They got married. I paid for part of the wedding. It was not a big wedding, but not small either. I spent another $8,000 I did not have. I had to borrow from my sister Patty. It took me 2 years to pay that money back. The first years of their marriage I visited them often. Jessica always welcomed me with a smile. She offered me coffee. She asked how I was. I thought she really cared, that I had found in her someone who loved me, that I was not alone in the world. Then came the pandemic. Liam and Jessica lost their jobs. They were desperate. They could not pay the rent on their condo. They had no money for food. They came to ask me for help. I was barely surviving on my Social Security check. I had to stop working 2 years earlier because my health problems got worse. The arthritis in my hands prevented me from cleaning anymore. My back could not handle standing for many hours. But I had some savings. Not much, but something. I told them to come live with me. That way they would not have to pay rent, that we could share expenses. They moved into my house with all their things. They took the master bedroom, the one that had been mine and my husband's. I moved into the small room in the back. For 8 months, I supported them. I bought food for the 3 of us with my pension. I paid the utilities. I paid for everything. They did not work. They said they could not find anything. I tightened my belt. I ate less so they would not go without. I stopped buying my blood pressure medication because the money was not enough. Once I fainted in the kitchen from high blood pressure. Liam found me on the floor. He took me to the hospital. The doctor scolded me for not taking my meds. I told him I did not have the money. Liam was there, listening. He said nothing. He offered no help. He just took me back home and went on with his life as if nothing had happened. Finally, they found jobs. But they did not leave my house. They said they needed to save first, that in a few months they would leave. I believed them. 6 more months passed, then a year. They were still in my house. I was still paying most of the expenses because they said they needed to save their money for the future. When they finally left, I breathed a sigh of relief in a sense, not because I did not want them close, but because my finances were destroyed. I had spent all my savings. I had borrowed from friends. I was in debt up to my neck, but I told them nothing. I did not want them to feel bad. I did not want them to think they had been a burden to me, because despite everything, they were my family, my only son and the woman he had chosen, and I loved them. After they left, Liam kept visiting me, once or twice a week. Sometimes he brought Jessica, other times he came alone. He always asked how I was. He always hugged me. He always told me he loved me, and I clung to those visits as if they were the only thing keeping me with the will to live. Because deep down, in the deepest part of my being, I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid of being forgotten. I was afraid that one day I would stop mattering to anyone and turn into an invisible old woman who dies alone in her house without anyone noticing. Now, lying in my bed, staring at the ceiling in the dark, I understood that fear had turned me into easy prey. I had been so desperately needy for love, so pathetically anxious to feel important, that I did not see what was in front of me. I did not see that Liam only came when he needed something. I did not see that Jessica only smiled when it suited her. I did not see that every hug was calculated, that every word of affection was an investment for a future benefit. I had been blind, stupid, naive. But I would not be anymore. I got out of bed even though it was 4 a.m. I went to the kitchen and turned on the light. I took out an old notebook I used to write down recipes. I tore out the used pages and started writing. I wrote every detail I remembered from the conversation I had heard. Every word, every name, every figure. $180,000, loan in my name, forged documents, plan to flee. Then I wrote everything I had done for them, all the money I had given them, all the times I had helped them. I needed to see it clearly. I needed to understand the magnitude of what I was facing. When I finished, it was almost 6 a.m. I had filled 10 pages of sacrifices, of unrequited love, of betrayed trust. I hid the notebook in the deepest drawer of my dresser. No one would look there. Then I made myself a coffee and sat down to think. I had to act with intelligence. I could not let myself get carried away by emotion. I could not confront them yet. I needed a plan. I needed proof. I needed to be completely sure of every step I would take. Because this time, it was not just about me. It was about justice. It was about preventing them from destroying me. It was about making sure they paid for what they were about to do to me. And I would do whatever was necessary to achieve it. The following days were the hardest of my life. I had to become an actress. I had to pretend everything was fine, that I knew nothing, that I was still the naive and trusting mother they believed I was. Every time the phone rang, and it was Liam, I had to control my voice. I had to sound normal, loving, incapable of suspecting anything. The first time he came to visit me after that conversation, I thought I would not make it. I heard his car park in front of my house, and my heart raced so fast, I thought I would have a heart attack right there. I took a deep breath. I wiped my sweaty hands on my apron, and I opened the door with a smile. "Hi, Mom," he said, kissing my cheek as he always did. That kiss burned my skin. I wanted to push him away, to scream at him, to tell him I knew everything, but I did not. I swallowed the rage and kissed him back. "Son, what a surprise. Come in, come in." I was just making coffee. We went into the kitchen. He sat at the table, as he had done thousands of times before. I poured him coffee in his favorite mug, the one with a drawing of a boat I gave him when he was 10 and dreamed of being a sailor. I sat across from him and watched him while he drank. I saw him with new eyes. He was no longer my little boy. He was no longer the son I had created in my mind. He was a stranger, a man capable of betraying his own mother without the slightest remorse. And I had to pretend I did not know. We talked about trivial things, about the weather, about his job, about the neighbors. He acted perfectly. He smiled. He asked about my health. He looked relaxed, confident. I did the same. I smiled. I answered. I acted like the loving mother he expected me to be. But inside, my mind was working at full speed. I observed every gesture, every word, every look. I was looking for clues. I was looking to understand how someone could be so convincing while planning to destroy the one who gave him life. Before leaving, he hugged me. "I love you, Mom. Take care of yourself." I returned the hug. "I love you too, son." A lie. In that moment, I did not feel love. I felt disgust. I felt pain. I felt a rage so deep it scared me. But I could not let him see it. Not yet. When he left, I closed the door and leaned against it. I was shaking. It had been harder than I imagined. But I had done it. I had acted well. He suspected nothing. That night, I called my sister Patty. She lived in another state, 3 hours away. We did not see each other very often, but we had always been close. She was the only person in the world I could trust completely. "Patty, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." She noticed the tremor in my voice. "What happened, Maggie? Are you okay? I can't talk over the phone. Can you come this weekend?" There was a pause. Then her voice, worried. "I'm coming tomorrow. I'll be there by the afternoon." That night, I did not sleep again. I stayed up thinking about how to tell Patty what was happening, how to explain to her that her nephew, the boy she had also helped raise, was capable of something so horrible. Patty arrived the next day at 3 in the afternoon. As soon as I opened the door, she saw my face and knew something was very wrong. She came in quickly, closed the door behind her, and hugged me. "Tell me what happened." We sat in the living room. I told her everything. From the beginning. I told her about the call Liam forgot to hang up. I repeated every word I had heard. I told her about the $180,000 loan, about the plan to run away, about the horrible things they had said about me. Patty listened in silence. Her face went from worry to disbelief, and from disbelief to fury. When I finished speaking, she had tears in her eyes. "That bastard, that wretched boy. After everything you did for him. I don't know what to do, Patty. If I confront him, they are going to deny everything. They are going to say I misunderstood and probably find another way to hurt me." Patty sat thinking. She was a practical woman, smart. She had always been better than me at handling difficult situations. "That is why I needed her help. You are right. You cannot confront them yet. You need proof. You need solid evidence of what they are planning, and you need to protect yourself legally." "How?" "First, we need to know exactly what documents he has forged. Second, we need a lawyer, someone who can advise you on how to protect your assets. And third, you need to play along. Make them believe their plan is working while you prepare to strike back." I looked at her. My younger sister, 3 years younger than me, but always stronger, more decisive. "I don't know if I can keep pretending. Every time I see him, I want to scream everything I know at him." "I know, but you have to do it. For your own good. If you want to get out of this without losing everything, you have to be smarter than them." We spent the rest of the afternoon making a plan. Patty suggested we look for a lawyer first. She knew someone trustworthy in the city, a man named Robert Miller, who specialized in fraud and family cases. "I will contact him tomorrow. In the meantime, you need to figure out what papers you have signed lately. Has Liam brought you anything to sign in the last few weeks?" I thought about it. Yes, about 3 weeks ago he brought me some documents. He said they were to update my health insurance information, that it was just paperwork. I signed without reading much. I trusted him. Patty closed her eyes. "Damn it. Maggie, those were not health insurance papers. They were probably bank documents." Panic invaded me. What do I do? It is too late. No, not yet. If the bank has not approved the loan yet, there is still time. But we need to act fast. Patty stayed with me that weekend. We slept little. We spent hours going over every detail, every conversation I had had with Liam in the last few months. Every visit, every call. We were looking for patterns. We were looking for signs I had ignored. And we found them. Many. Liam had started asking me about my house about 6 months ago. What was it worth? If it was completely paid off? If I had ever thought about selling it? I thought it was simple curiosity. Now I understood he was appraising my assets. He had also asked about my bank accounts. How much money did I have saved? Where did I keep it? If I had investments, I had told him everything, because he was my son, because I thought he cared about my financial well-being. How stupid I had been. Patty and I made a list of everything. We documented every suspicious question, every strange visit, every moment Liam had shown too much interest in my finances. On Sunday afternoon, before leaving, Patty hugged me tight. "You are going to get out of this, I promise you. But you have to be strong. You have to keep acting like nothing is wrong. You can do it." I nodded, though I was not sure. "I am going to try." "No, you are not going to try. You are going to do it, because if you don't, they are going to beat you. They are going to destroy you. And I am not going to let that happen." When Patty left, I felt a little stronger, a little less alone. I had an ally, I had a plan, even if it was still incomplete, and I had a reason to keep going. On Monday morning, Patty called me. She had spoken with Robert Miller, the lawyer. He had agreed to see me that same week. We set a meeting for Wednesday at 10 in the morning at his office. Those 2 days were eternal. Liam called me on Tuesday. He wanted to know how I was, if I needed anything. I acted normal. I told him everything was fine, that I missed him, that I hoped to see him soon. Soon. "Mom, I promise that soon I am going to spend more time with you." Liar. What he wanted to say was, "Soon I am going to finish robbing you and disappear from your life." On Wednesday, I arrived early at Robert Miller's office. It was a modest building in the city center. His office was on the 3rd floor. A secretary welcomed me and offered me coffee. I was too nervous to drink anything. Robert came out to greet me personally. He was a man of about 50, serious but with kind eyes. He had me come into his office and close the door. "Mrs. Sullivan, Patty told me briefly about your situation, but I need you to tell me everything from the beginning. Do not leave out any detail, no matter how insignificant it seems." And that is what I did. I told him everything. The call Liam forgot to hang up, the exact words I had heard, the documents I had signed without reading, all the money I had given him over the years, everything. Robert took notes. His expression became more serious with every minute that passed. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and sighed. "Mrs. Sullivan, what your son is doing is called fraud. It is a serious crime. If he manages to obtain that loan with forged documents, he could face criminal charges. But before getting to that, we need to protect you." "How?" "First, we are going to contact your bank. We are going to find out if there really is a loan application in your name. If there is, we are going to block it immediately. Second, we are going to review all the documents you signed. I need you to bring me everything you have. And third, we are going to prepare legal documents that protect your assets. An affidavit that you did not authorize any loan. A limited power of attorney so no one else can make transactions in your name." I felt an enormous relief. Finally, someone who knew what to do. Someone who could help me get out of this hell. And what happens to Liam? He is going to go to jail. Robert looked at me seriously. "That depends on you, Mrs. Sullivan. If we decide to proceed with criminal charges, yes, he could face time in prison. But I understand he is your son, and this is incredibly difficult for you. We can handle this in different ways. The important thing now is to protect you." I nodded. I did not know if I wanted Liam to go to jail. He was still my son, despite everything. But I did know that I was not going to let him destroy me. "Do what you have to do to protect me. We will decide what to do with him later." Robert nodded. "Good. We are going to start today. I am going to give you a letter for your bank. You are going to go there and ask directly if there is any loan application in your name. If there is, you are going to give them this letter and demand they freeze it immediately until this is investigated." He gave me the letter. My hands were trembling as I took it. This was real. I was really fighting back. I was really fighting for myself. I left Robert's office with a clear plan, with concrete steps to follow. And for the first time since I heard that terrible conversation, I felt something resembling hope. I was not going to be a victim. I was not going to let them destroy me. I was going to fight, and I would not rest until they paid for what they were doing to me. I left Robert's office with the letter in my purse and my heart beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. I had to go to the bank. I had to face the truth of what Liam had done. Part of me still hoped there was a mistake, that maybe I had misunderstood the conversation, that my son was not capable of something so terrible. But I knew I was fooling myself. The bank was a 10-minute walk away. I went slowly, trying to calm my nerves. I mentally practiced what I was going to say. I had to sound firm, secure. I could not let them see me as a confused old woman who did not understand her own finances. I entered the bank at 11:30 in the morning. There were few people. I went directly to the customer service desk. A young woman of about 30 welcomed me with a professional smile. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "Good morning. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I need information about my account and any recent activity associated with my name." The woman typed something on her computer. "Of course, Mrs. Sullivan. May I see your ID?" I handed her my ID card. She scanned it and waited for my information to load. I held my breath. Her expression changed slightly. She frowned, looking at the screen. "Mrs. Sullivan, I see you have a mortgage loan application in process. Is that what you want information about?" My soul fell to the floor. It was true. Everything was true. Liam had really done it. "I did not apply for any loan," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I need to see all the information related to that application." The woman seemed confused. "But it says here you came in 3 weeks ago with your son, that you signed the initial documents. We even have your digitized signature." They tricked me. My son told me they were papers to update my health insurance. He never told me it was a loan. Here I have a letter from my lawyer. I handed her the letter Robert had given me. She read it quickly, and her expression became serious. "Mrs. Sullivan, this is very serious. I need to call the manager. Please, wait a moment." She got up and disappeared into an office in the back. I stayed seated, trying to control the shaking in my hands. Other customers entered and left. Life went on normally for everyone but me. 10 minutes later, a man of about 45 in a gray suit came out. He introduced himself as the manager, Stephen Grant. "Mrs. Sullivan, please accompany me to my office." I followed him to a private office. He closed the door and invited me to sit. His face was serious but not hostile. "Mrs. Sullivan, we have reviewed your account and the loan application. Indeed, there is an application for $180,000 using your house as collateral. The documents were presented 3 weeks ago by you and your son Liam Sullivan. You are telling me you did not authorize this loan?" "Exactly. My son made me sign papers telling me they were for something else." I trusted him. I did not read what I was signing. But now I know he is planning to keep that money and disappear, leaving me with the debt. Stephen rubbed his face wearily. "This complicates things a lot. The loan is in the final approval stage. In fact, it was scheduled to be disbursed next week." I felt the floor opening under my feet. "Next week? But you have to stop it. I do not want that loan. I cannot pay it. My only income is my Social Security." "I understand, Mrs. Sullivan, and we are going to freeze the application immediately while it is investigated. But I need you to understand this could become a legal case. If fraud is involved, we will have to report it to the authorities. My lawyer told me the same thing. Do what you have to do. I just need that loan not to be approved." Stephen nodded. "I'm going to mark this application as frozen right now. No one will be able to touch anything until it is resolved. I am also going to need you to sign some documents declaring that you did not knowingly authorize this loan." I signed everything he put in front of me. This time I read every word, every line. I would not make the mistake of trusting blindly again. When I left the bank an hour later, I felt exhausted but also relieved. The loan was blocked. Liam would not get that money, at least not that way. But I knew this was not over. When Liam found out the bank had frozen the application, he would know something was wrong. He would have to act more carefully than ever. I got home and called Robert to tell him what had happened. He seemed satisfied. "Excellent, Mrs. Sullivan. You took the first step. Now we need to gather more evidence. Do you have access to your son's computer? Or his phone?" "No, he never leaves them here when he comes." "Then we need to be creative. The next time he comes to visit, try to record the conversation if he says something compromising, or see if you can take photos of any document if he brings it." The idea of spying on my own son churned my stomach. But there was no turning back. That night I could not sleep again. I lay thinking about what would come. How would Liam react when the bank contacted him to tell him the application was frozen? Would he come to confront me? Would he suspect I knew something? The answer came 2 days later. Liam showed up at my house without warning. It was Friday afternoon. I was in the kitchen making dinner when I heard his car. My heart raced. He opened the door with his own keys. He walked in with a firm step. His face was tense, angry. "Mom, we need to talk." I wiped my hands on my apron and tried to look calm. "Sure. Son, what happened? You look upset." "The bank called me today. They say you went there and froze the loan application. Why did you do that?" "So they were not going to pretend anymore." I was not going to pretend I knew nothing. I had to think fast. "Loan? Liam, I did not apply for any loan. You told me those papers were for health insurance." He clenched his jaw. "Mom, we talked about this. The loan was to make repairs on the house. For your future medical expenses. Don't you remember?" Liar. We had never talked about that. But I had to play along. "Liam, I do not remember talking about any loan. And I definitely do not remember authorizing $180,000. That is a huge amount. How am I going to pay that with my pension? That is why we were going to manage the money, Jessica and I, to make sure it was used well." "Manage my money? Without consulting me?" "Liam, that does not seem right to me." I saw the frustration on his face. He was losing patience. "Mom, you are confused. You probably forgot our conversation. You know, lately you have been a little forgetful." There it was. The attempt to make me look senile, to invalidate my word. "I am not confused, Liam. And I am not forgetful. I know exactly what I signed and what I did not sign, and I did not authorize that loan." He ran a hand through his hair. He was nervous, worried. His plan was falling apart. "Then call the bank and tell them it was a misunderstanding, that you do want the loan." "I am not going to do that." "Why not?" "Because I do not need that money, and I do not want to go into debt at my age." Liam looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. There was rage in his eyes, resentment, almost hate. "You know what? Mom, you have always been like this. Always complicating things. Always being difficult. Difficult? I am the difficult one. Liam, I have given you everything. Everything I have. And I have never asked for anything in return." "Exactly. You never asked for anything because you have always wanted me to feel guilty, to feel I owe you something. Well, you know what? I am tired of carrying that guilt." His words hit me like slaps. But I could not let him see me weak. "No one asked you to carry anything. I just wanted you to be happy, to have a good life. Well, I have it. And I do not need you to keep treating me like a child who depends on you." He turned to leave. But before reaching the door, he stopped. "Think about it carefully, Mom. That loan was for your own good, to secure your future. If you do not accept it, I do not know how you are going to survive when you can no longer take care of yourself." It was a thinly veiled threat. He was telling me that if I did not cooperate, he would abandon me. "I will manage. I always have." He left, slamming the door. I heard his car start and speed away. I let myself fall into a chair. I was shaking from head to toe. It had been horrible. But it had also been revealing. Now Liam knew I was not going to cooperate, and that made him dangerous. I called Robert immediately. I told him what had happened. "It was to be expected," he said. "Now he is going to try something else. He may try to gain access to your accounts another way, or try to pressure you emotionally. You have to be prepared." What do I do? Keep acting normal as much as possible. Do not give him reasons to think you know about the full plan. Just stand firm that you do not want the loan. And document everything, every conversation, every interaction. That night I started a journal. I wrote everything that had happened since I heard that terrible conversation, every detail, every emotion, every confrontation. Because I knew this was going to get worse before it got better, and I needed to be ready for whatever came. The next few days were deafeningly silent. Liam did not call. He did not come to visit. It was as if he had disappeared from my life. And that hurt more than I wanted to admit. Despite everything I knew, despite the betrayal, part of me still missed my son. Or at least I missed the illusion of what I thought we had. Patty called me every day. She asked how I was, if I had heard from Liam, if I needed her to come stay with me. I told her I was fine, although it was not true. I felt empty, exhausted, like I had aged 10 years in a week. It was Robert who pulled me out of that emotional paralysis. He called me Tuesday morning. "Mrs. Sullivan, I need you to come to my office today if you can. I have important information." I arrived at his office at 2 in the afternoon. Robert was waiting for me with several documents on his desk. His expression was serious. "Mrs. Sullivan, I did some digging. I contacted the bank and asked for copies of all documents related to the loan application. What I found is worse than we thought." I felt dizzy. "What did you find?" "Your son not only forged your signature on the bank documents, he also presented fake proof of income in your name. He declared that you receive a pension 3 times larger than you actually receive, and he presented documents that supposedly prove you have investments of over $200,000. But I do not have investments. I barely have savings." "Exactly. Everything is fake. He fabricated documents to make it look like you have the ability to pay that loan. It is bank fraud, plain and simple." I felt nauseous. How could he do that? How did he get all that information about me? "You gave him access. Over the years, you gave him enough personal information so he could do this. Account numbers, your pension documents. He probably took photos or made copies when he lived in your house." He was right. During those 8 months they lived with me, Liam had access to everything. To my papers, to my documents, to my entire life. What do I do now? Robert leaned back in his chair. "We have 2 options. The first is to go directly to the police with all this. File fraud charges. Liam could face between 5 and 10 years in prison if found guilty." My heart tightened. As horrible as everything was, the idea of my son in prison tore me apart. What is the second option? The second option is more strategic. We use all this information to protect you completely. We prepare legal documents that leave him without access to any of your assets, and then we confront Liam with the evidence, giving him the option to walk away from you permanently or face criminal charges. And if he chooses not to walk away, then we proceed with option 1. But at least we give him the chance to understand the gravity of what he did. I thought about the 2 options. Part of me wanted immediate justice, wanted Liam to pay for all the damage he had done to me, but another part, that maternal part that never completely dies, wanted to give him one last chance to do the right thing. "Let's go with the second option. But I want all the evidence ready in case he decides not to cooperate." Robert nodded. "I am going to prepare everything. In the meantime, I need you to do something for me. I need you to act as if nothing happened. If Liam contacts you, be cordial but firm. Do not mention anything we have discovered. Can you do that?" "I can try." But Liam did not contact me. A full week passed without a single call, without a single message. It was as if he had decided to punish me with his silence for not cooperating with his plan. It was Jessica who finally broke the silence. She called me on a Friday afternoon. Her voice sounded sweet, worried. "The perfect daughter-in-law. Maggie, it's Jessica. How are you? Liam told me you had a misunderstanding about the loan." Misunderstanding? What a convenient way to describe an attempted fraud. "Hello, Jessica. I am fine. Thanks for asking. Look, I know Liam got a little tense the last time you spoke, but it is just because he is worried about you. That loan really was to help you." Liar. She knew perfectly well what the real plan was. "I understand, Jessica. But I do not need that loan. I am fine financially." "Are you sure? Because Liam and I have been talking, and we think maybe you need more help than you admit. Maybe you should consider moving to a smaller place. Selling this big house. We could help you with that." There it was, the next step in their plan. If they could not get the loan, they would try to get me to sell my house, and they probably expected to handle the sale money themselves. "This house is my home. Jessica, I do not plan to sell it." There was a pause. I could almost hear the wheels turning in her head, looking for another angle of attack. Sure. We just wanted you to know we are here for you. For whatever you need." "I know. Thanks." I hung up the phone feeling a mix of rage and satisfaction. They knew their plan had failed, and now they were desperate, looking for another way to access my money. I called Robert immediately to tell him about the conversation. He told me it was exactly what he expected. They are going to keep trying. They are going to try different tactics. Emotional manipulation. Making you feel guilty. Maybe even veiled threats. You have to stand firm. I will. That night, while I was in bed trying to sleep, I heard a noise outside. I got up and looked out the window. A car was parked in front of my house. I recognized Liam's car. My heart started beating faster. What was he doing there at 11 at night? Why didn't he knock on the door? I watched him for several minutes. He was sitting in the car, looking toward my house. The light from his phone illuminated his face. He was talking to someone, probably Jessica. After about 15 minutes, he started the car and left. He had not knocked. He had not tried to enter. He had just been there, watching. I felt violated, threatened. My own house no longer felt safe. The next day I told Robert what had happened. He suggested I install security cameras. Patty came that same weekend and helped me install a simple system. A camera at the front door and another in the back. If he shows up like that again, we will have evidence, Patty said. And he returned, 3 nights later. This time with Jessica. The two of them stayed in the car in front of my house for half an hour. The camera captured everything. Their faces, the license plate, the exact time. Robert reviewed the recordings. This is stalking. If it keeps happening, we can get a restraining order. But I did not want to get to that yet, because I had a better plan. Robert and I had been working on something more elaborate. Something that would not only protect me, but would also completely expose Liam and Jessica. The idea came from Patty. She suggested that instead of just defending ourselves, we should set a trap for them. Make them believe their plan could still work, but with a variation that suited them less. Robert developed the strategy. I would contact Liam and tell him I had reconsidered the loan thing, that maybe he was right that I needed help managing my finances. But instead of a bank loan, I wanted him to help me reorganize my investments. We are going to make him believe he has access to your money in a different way, Robert explained. But in reality, we are going to prepare documents that incriminate him even more. Every signature he puts down, every action he takes, is going to be additional evidence of his intent to defraud you. It was risky. It meant having to be close to Liam again, having to pretend I trusted him, but it was the best way to ensure he could never try something like this again. I called Liam on Monday morning. He seemed surprised to hear from me. "Mom, I didn't expect your call. Liam, I need to talk to you. About the loan and about my finances in general." I could hear the interest in his voice. "What is it?" "I have been thinking. Maybe you were right. Maybe I need help managing my money better. Could we meet? You, Jessica, and me." There was a pause. Then his voice, trying to sound casual but clearly excited. "Of course, Mom. When works for you? How about this Saturday? You can come for lunch? I'll make your favorite dish. Perfect. We will be there." When I hung up, my hands were trembling. I had just invited into my house the two people who wanted to destroy me. But this time, I was prepared. Robert would come before to install a hidden recording device. We would record the entire conversation, every word, every proposal, every attempt at manipulation. Patty would be nearby, at a neighbor's house, ready to intervene if something went wrong. And I would have in my possession documents prepared by Robert that seemed to give Liam access to my finances, but actually gave him nothing. They would only compromise him more. Saturday arrived too quickly. I spent the morning cooking, trying to keep my hands busy so as not to think too much. Robert came early and placed the recording device inside a floral arrangement on the dining table. "No one will notice it," he assured me. "It will capture everything perfectly." At 1 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. Liam and Jessica had arrived. I took a deep breath, put on my best loving mother mask, and opened the door. "Son, Jessica, so glad you came." Liam kissed my cheek. Jessica hugged me. "All so normal, all so fake. It smells delicious. Mom, you made your famous chicken and rice, your favorite since you were a boy." We sat down to eat. The conversation was light at first. We talked about the weather, about their jobs, about nothing important, but I could feel the tension, the anticipation. They were waiting for me to bring up the topic of finances. And I did. After dessert, while we drank coffee, "Liam, Jessica, I called you because I have been thinking a lot about my future, about my financial situation, and I think you are right. I need help. I saw how they looked at each other, a look of barely contained triumph. "We are here for whatever you need, Mom," Liam said. "I know, son. And that is why I want you to help me manage my money better, to advise me on investments, on how to make my pension stretch further." Jessica leaned forward. "We can help you with that, Maggie. In fact, we know people who can give you very good returns. I bet you do. Probably themselves, before disappearing with everything. I would like that. But I need you to explain well how it would work, what papers I would have to sign, what access you would need to my accounts." And they began to talk, to explain their plan. And the recording device captured every word. Liam and Jessica talked for almost an hour. They explained to me in great detail how they could help me invest my money, how they would need access to my bank accounts to make quick transfers when there were good opportunities, how it would be best if I gave them a broad power of attorney so they could act in my name without having to bother me with every decision. I nodded, asked questions, pretended to be interested and a little confused, like the naive old woman they thought I was. But inside, my mind recorded every word, every false promise, every lie disguised as financial advice. Jessica took out her laptop. She showed me charts and projections. Numbers dancing on the screen promising returns of 20, 30, even 40% annually. It was ridiculous. Anyone with minimal financial education would know those figures were impossible. But they assumed I knew nothing. "With an initial investment of about $50,000, Liam said, "you could be generating passive income of several thousand a month, enough to live comfortably without worrying about anything." $50,000? But I do not have that much available money. Liam smiled. That smile that used to seem warm to me and now produced nausea. "That is why the loan would have been perfect. Mom, but since you did not want to accept it, we could start with your current savings. How much do you have in the bank right now?" It was a direct question. They wanted to know exactly how much they could steal from me. "I have about $35,000 in my savings account, and about $10,000 in checking." I saw how Jessica's eyes shined. $45,000. It was not what they expected with the loan, but clearly, it was enough to interest them. "That is perfect to start," she said. "With that amount, we can work wonders. In 6 months, you could easily double it." Lies. In 6 months, I would be at zero, and they would be on some beach spending my money. Sounds very good, but I need to be sure my money is protected. How does that work? Liam leaned toward me and took my hand. The gesture gave me chills. "Mom, trust me. I am your son. I would never do anything to harm you. Your money is going to be safer than ever, and we are going to handle everything so you do not have to worry about a thing." Exactly. I would not have to worry because I would have nothing left to worry about. "Okay, I trust you guys. What do you need me to sign?" Jessica took a folder out of her bag. She had documents already prepared. They had come ready to close the deal. "How convenient. These are simple power of attorney forms," she explained. "They just give us permission to act on your behalf in financial matters. They are standard. Everyone uses them." I took the documents and read them. Well, I pretended to read them. In reality, Robert had already shown me similar copies and explained exactly what they meant. They were not simple powers. They were extremely broad powers that would give them total access to all my assets. They could empty my accounts, sell my house, do whatever they wanted. "This says, you can sell properties in my name," I pointed out. Liam laughed. "Yes, but we would only do it if it were absolutely necessary. And always consulting you first, obviously." Another lie. I don't know. It scares me a little to sign something so broad. I saw frustration cross Liam's face briefly before he put his worried son mask back on. "Mom, if you do not trust me, then tell me. But remember, all we want is to help you, protect you, make sure you have a stable future." It was basic emotional manipulation, making me feel guilty for doubting, playing with my need to believe my son loved me. "It is not that I do not trust you, son. It is just that I am cautious." Jessica intervened with her sweetest voice. "And you are right to be cautious, Maggie. That is why we are going to do everything transparently. We are going to send you monthly reports of all your money movement. You are going to know exactly where every penny is." "Sure." until one day the reports stopped coming because they would have disappeared. I left the documents on the table. Let me think about it for a couple of days. It is an important decision. Liam clenched his jaw. Mom, investment opportunities do not wait. If we want to take advantage of the best returns, we need to act fast. Just a couple of days, son, to be sure. I could see he wanted to press more, but Jessica touched his arm gently, a warning gesture. They could not seem too anxious. Of course, Mom, Liam finally said. Take your time. But not too much, okay? We really want to help you. They left shortly after. I hugged them at the door, as I always did. I told them I loved them. They said the same. All perfectly normal on the outside, all rotten on the inside. As soon as I closed the door, I called Patty. She arrived in 5 minutes. Robert came half an hour later. We reviewed the recording together. It is pure gold, Robert said. They have documents prepared in advance. They are pressuring her to sign fast. They are promising impossible returns. And best of all, it was recorded that they are seeking total access to your assets. It is enough to proceed legally, more than enough. But there is something else we can do, something that will incriminate them even more decisively. Robert took some documents out of his briefcase. They were similar to the ones Liam and Jessica had brought, but with subtle differences. These are powers of attorney that I have prepared. At first glance, they seem to give them access to your money, but they have hidden clauses that make them null and void. More importantly, they have a clause that specifically declares that anyone attempting to use these documents for personal gain will be committing fraud. Do you want me to give them these instead of the ones they brought? Exactly. You tell them you went to a trusted notary or lawyer to have the documents reviewed, that this lawyer made some adjustments to protect you better. You give them these documents to sign as witnesses. Once they sign, we will have irrefutable evidence of their intent. Patty smiled. It was the first time she had smiled in weeks. It is brilliant. They are going to sign their own sentence, but I have to get them to sign without suspecting, I said. That is why the documents look almost identical to the originals. Only a lawyer reading carefully would notice the differences. And I doubt they read carefully. They are too anxious to close the deal. We spent the rest of the afternoon planning every detail. I would call Liam the next day. I would tell him I had reconsidered and was ready to sign, that I had just made some small adjustments with a lawyer to feel safer, to come on Wednesday to finalize everything. Wednesday, 4 days away. 4 days to mentally prepare myself to see their faces again, to go back to pretending I did not know what they really were. I called Liam on Monday morning, as we had planned. He answered on the second ring. Mom, how are you? Good, son. Look, I thought a lot about what we talked about, and you are right. I need help managing my money better. I am ready to sign those documents. Silence. Then his voice, trying not to sound too excited. That is excellent. Mom, I am glad you made that decision. When do you want us to come? How about Wednesday? But before that, I want to tell you something. I took the documents to a trusted legal advisor, a man who knew your father, just to have him review them and explain everything well to me. I heard tension in his voice. And what did he say? He said they were fine, but he made some small adjustments, added some clauses to protect me better in case something goes wrong. Nothing important, just legal stuff. Mom, you didn't need to do that. The documents we brought you were already perfect. I know, son, but it made me feel calmer. You understand, right? At my age, one gets a little paranoid. Another pause. Of course, Mom. I understand. Then on Wednesday you bring us those new documents and we review them. Perfect. I will see you at 1. I'll make something nice to eat. I hung up and stared at the phone. I had just set the trap. Now I just had to wait for them to fall into it. The following days were of constant anxiety. I slept little, ate less. Patty stayed with me to make sure I did not crumble. Robert reviewed and reviewed the documents, making sure everything was perfect. Wednesday dawned with a gray sky. Heavy clouds threatened rain. It seemed appropriate. I spent the morning cooking again. I needed to keep my hands busy. Robert arrived at 11. He placed another recording device. This one was more sophisticated. It had video as well as audio. It would be hidden on a bookshelf with a direct view of the dining table. "After today," Robert said, "we are going to have everything we need. Recordings, signed documents, complete evidence of criminal intent. We will be able to proceed however you decide." Patty was in the kitchen making coffee. She came over and hugged me. "You are going to be okay. This is going to be over soon. And then you can start to heal." But I was not sure I could heal. Some wounds are too deep. At 1 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. Liam and Jessica had arrived, punctual as always, so reliable when it came to robbing an old woman. I opened the door. Smiles, kisses, hugs, the usual theater. We ate first. No one mentioned the documents during the meal. We talked about nonsense, about their work, about a neighbor who had moved, about nothing important. After coffee, I took out the documents, the ones Robert had prepared. I placed them on the table. "Here they are. The lawyer made some changes, but said they are standard. Do you want to review them?" Liam took the documents. He glanced at them quickly, too quickly. He was not really reading. He was just verifying that they looked official. "They look good, Mom. Where do I sign?" "I need both of you to sign here as witnesses. And I sign here, giving you the power." Jessica also reviewed the documents superficially. Then she took a pen out of her purse. An expensive pen, probably bought with money they had gotten by deceiving someone else. They signed, both of them, without reading the clauses that incriminated them, without realizing they had just signed their own condemnation. I signed too, doing the full theater. "Ready," said Liam, smiling. "Now we are going to start working for you. You will see how well you are going to do." "Thank you, son." "Thank you both. I feel calmer knowing you are going to take care of me." They left half an hour later, happy, triumphant, convinced they had won. But they had no idea what had really just happened. As soon as they left, Robert came out of the room where he had been waiting. His face showed a professional satisfaction I had rarely seen in him. "We have it all. Video, audio, signed documents. It is irrefutable evidence." I sat on the sofa, feeling the weight of what we had just done. And now what follows? Robert sat across from me and opened his briefcase. He took out more documents. Always more documents. Now we prepare the final counteroffensive. We are going to do several things simultaneously. First, tomorrow I am going to present all the evidence we have to the bank. They are going to permanently close any possibility of Liam gaining access to your accounts, and he is going to realize it, probably. But by that moment we will already be on the next step. I am going to prepare legal documents that strip him of any right to your assets, present or future. We are also going to revoke any power of attorney he might claim to have previously. Patty intervened from the kitchen. "And when do we confront them?" Robert smiled. "Here comes the interesting part. We are going to organize an event, a family gathering, something that seems normal, a lunch, a celebration. Something where witnesses are present. Witnesses, family, close friends, people who need to know the truth about Liam and Jessica. And in that moment, in front of everyone, we are going to expose exactly what they tried to do." I felt a knot in my stomach. I do not know if I can do that. Expose him publicly like that. Patty came over and took my hand. "Maggie, they had no problem planning to leave you in ruin, to abandon you with a debt you could never pay, to destroy your life without the slightest remorse. They deserve for it to be known who they really are." She was right. I knew it, but he was still my son. Despite everything, part of me still felt that maternal instinct to protect him. What if we simply tell them we know everything, that they stay away and never come back? Robert shook his head. "Mrs. Sullivan, people like Liam and Jessica do not learn from a private warning. If you let them go now, they are going to try the same thing with someone else. Maybe with another older person. Maybe with someone who does not have the luck to discover them in time. You have the opportunity to stop them definitively." His words hit me. I had never thought about that. That if I did not do something, they could do this same thing to another person. To another mother. To another lonely and vulnerable old woman. "What kind of event do you suggest?" Robert thought a moment. "When is your birthday?" "In 3 weeks. The 15th of next month." "Perfect. Organize a birthday party. Invite family, friends, neighbors. Make it look like a normal celebration. Liam and Jessica won't be able to refuse to attend without looking bad. And there, in the middle of the party, we will make the revelation." Patty nodded enthusiastically. "It is brilliant. They are going to be relaxed, confident. They are not going to see what is coming." I spent the following days in a state of constant anxiety. Robert worked on all the legal documents. Patty helped me plan the party. I tried to keep calm and act normal when Liam called. And he called. Almost every day now, asking how I was, saying that soon they would start moving my money to the investments, that I needed to give them my bank account numbers to make the transfers. I made excuses, that the bank had put in new security measures, that I needed to go personally to authorize certain movements, that they were taking time to process the documentation, anything to buy time. I could hear the growing frustration in his voice, but he could not pressure me too much without revealing his true intentions. 10 days before my birthday, I started sending the invitations. I called my sister Patty, obviously, my cousins Faye and Sylvia, who lived in the city, my neighbor Helen, who had been my friend for 20 years, some former co-workers, the people who had been part of my life for years, and, of course, I called Liam. "Son, I am going to have a small party for my birthday. Nothing big, just family and close friends. I would love for you and Jessica to come." "Of course, Mom. We wouldn't miss it for anything." He had no idea how true that was. The days passed slow and fast at the same time. Slow because the anxiety was eating me alive. Fast because every day brought me closer to the moment of truth. Robert finished all the legal documents. He showed them to me one afternoon in his office. "This is a preventive protection order. Once we expose Liam, this will prevent him from approaching you or trying to contact you. This other one is the formal revocation of any power he could claim to have. And this," he said, showing me the last document, "is the formal complaint for attempted fraud that we will present to the authorities." Is he going to go to jail? Depends on the prosecutor and how much they want to pursue the case. But with the evidence we have, it is very likely he faces criminal charges. I signed everything, every document, every page, this time reading every word. The night before my birthday, I could not sleep. I stayed awake thinking about everything that had happened, about the mother I had been, about the son I had raised, about how everything had ended here. I thought about the good moments, when Liam was small and hugged me saying I was the best mom in the world, at his graduation, when he cried with happiness and thanked me for all my sacrifices, at his wedding, when we danced and he told me he hoped to be as good a parent as I had been a mother. When had it twisted? When had the loving boy turned into the man capable of destroying his own mother? Or had he always been like that and I had simply refused to see it? Maybe I would never know the answer, but tomorrow I would know something more important. I would know that I had fought, that I had not let myself be destroyed, that even at 64, I still had the strength to defend myself. My birthday dawned sunny. A perfect day for a party. A perfect day for justice. The next 2 days were of unbearable tension. Liam called me every few hours, asking about the notary, insisting that we configure online banking. His tone became increasingly urgent, more desperate. I kept postponing, inventing excuses. I had a headache. I had a doctor's appointment. I was tired. Anything to buy time. On Sunday night, Patty arrived to stay with me. Robert would come Monday morning. It was time to prepare the final event, the definitive confrontation. "Are you ready for this?" Patty asked me while we drank tea in the kitchen. "I don't know. I thought so, but now that it is so close, I am not sure. You can back out if you want. We can go directly to the police without confronting them." I shook my head. "No. I need to do this. I need them to see my face when they discover I know everything, that I was never the fool they thought I was." Patty squeezed my hand. "Then we are going to do it right." Monday, Robert arrived with more documents. He had prepared a complete dossier with all the evidence, transcribed recordings, photographs of the forged documents, bank records, everything organized chronologically. "This is the moment," Robert said. "Today in the afternoon, your grandson has a birthday. You told me Liam and Jessica were going to come with him to celebrate here at your house." It was true. My grandson Mason was turning 7. Liam had called me 2 days before to confirm they would come at 5 in the afternoon. I had said yes, that I would make cake and something to eat. A normal family celebration, but it would not be normal. Are we going to do this in front of the child? I asked, worried. No, Mason is going to be here. But at the moment of the confrontation, Patty is going to take him to the garden. He does not have to witness anything. But Liam and Jessica need to see that even on a special day for their son, you are no longer going to tolerate their lies. I passed the afternoon preparing everything. I made Mason's favorite cake. I prepared snacks. I decorated the living room a little with balloons. Everything had to look like a normal celebration until the exact moment. Robert hid the evidence in a large envelope in my room. Patty checked that her car was ready to leave quickly with Mason when necessary. I dressed in my best clothes. If I was going to do this, I would do it with dignity. At 5 o'clock sharp, they arrived. Mason came running in and hugged me. "Grandma, did you make my favorite cake?" "Of course, my love. Chocolate with strawberries." Liam and Jessica entered behind him. Tense smiles. I could see Liam was nervous. He probably expected me to bring up the topic of the bank, the powers, the access to my money again. We sang happy birthday. We cut the cake. Mason opened the gift I had bought him, a game he had wanted for months. Everything seemed perfect, a happy family celebrating. After the cake, Patty asked Mason if he wanted to see the new toys in the garden. He ran out excited. Patty looked at me before leaving. It was the signal. I stayed alone in the living room with Liam and Jessica. The atmosphere changed immediately. "Mom, we need to talk," Liam began. "The bank still hasn't processed the powers. A week has passed. Are you sure that lawyer exists?" I stood up without answering. I went to my room and took the envelope Robert had prepared. I returned to the living room and placed it on the coffee table. "Before we keep talking about banks and lawyers, there is something I need to show you." "What is that?" asked Jessica. "The truth." I opened the envelope and took out the first transcript. The one of the call Liam forgot to hang up. The one that had started all this. "This is a transcript of a conversation you had 5 weeks ago. A conversation I heard completely." I saw the color leave Liam's face. "Mom, I don't know what you are talking about. Let me refresh your memory." I began to read. "Wait just until the bank approves the loan for $180,000 in my mom's name. Then we are going to run and keep all the money." Silence. A silence so heavy I could feel it crushing the air in the room. Jessica tried to recover first. "Maggie, that is ridiculous. I don't know what you heard, but clearly you misunderstood." I took out more papers. "Did I also misunderstand this? The bank documents where you forged my signature. Or this, the fake income proofs you presented in my name. Or maybe this, the recordings of the 2 times you came to my house to convince me to give you total access to my money." Liam stood up. "Mom, this is a huge misunderstanding. Sit down." My voice came out firmer than I expected. "I haven't finished." I took out the photographs. The ones showing Liam and Jessica parked in front of my house at night, watching me, stalking me. "I also have this. You 2 coming to my house at midnight, watching me, planning your next move." Jessica started crying. Fake tears. "We didn't want to hurt you. We were just desperate. We have debts. We needed help. And robbing me was the solution? Leaving me in ruin? Abandoning me after taking everything I have?" Liam took a step toward me. "You have more than you need. This house is too big for you. That money was just sitting there. We needed it more. That money is mine. This house is mine. I worked all my life for it. And you have no right to anything. I am your son. I have a right to whatever is mine by inheritance. Inheritance is received when someone dies. Were you waiting for me to die to take it all, or did you prefer to do it while I was still alive so you wouldn't have to wait?" Liam's mask fell completely. His face transformed into something I had never seen before. Pure hate. "You know what? You are right. I am tired of pretending. I am sick of having to come here to listen to your boring stories, of pretending I care about your pathetic life, of acting like the perfect son when the only thing I want is what belongs to me. Nothing belongs to you. Everything belongs to me. After what I sacrificed taking care of you, putting up with you, pretending I love you." His words should have destroyed me, but I felt no pain anymore. Only a cold calm. Here is what is going to happen now, I said, taking out the last document. This is an agreement prepared by my lawyer. You are going to sign that you renounce any claim on my assets. You are going to stay away from my life permanently. And in exchange, I will not file criminal charges against you. Criminal charges? Jessica looked terrified. Bank fraud, document forgery, attempted theft, stalking. I have evidence of everything. My lawyer is ready to go to the police tomorrow if you don't sign this. Liam laughed, a bitter laugh, full of poison. You are not going to do anything. I am your son. You are not going to put me in jail. Test me. Liam looked at me with a mix of disbelief and fury. He still could not believe his mother, the naive old woman he thought to manipulate so easily, had beaten him at his own game. You wouldn't dare, he said, but his voice was trembling. I took the phone that was on the table. Robert is waiting for my call. One word from me, and this becomes an official criminal case. You decide. Jessica broke first. She let herself fall onto the sofa, crying for real this time. Sign. Liam, please. I don't want to go to jail. Think about Mason. You should have thought about Mason before planning to rob his grandmother, I said. Liam clenched his fists. I could see the internal battle on his face. Pride against reality, rage against fear. And if I don't sign, then tomorrow first thing I hand all this to the authorities. The bank already has your attempted bribery documented. I have witnesses. I have recordings. I have everything. You are going to lose much more than an inheritance. You are going to lose your freedom. 5 minutes passed in silence. Finally, Liam extended his hand. Give me the damn paper. I passed him the agreement. He read it with clenched teeth. Then he signed. Jessica signed after, with trembling hands. Now get out of my house, I said. Pick up your son and go. I never want to see you again. And Mason? Asked Jessica. You won't see him either. That question hurt me. My grandson was innocent in all this, but I knew that if I maintained contact with him, Liam would use him as an excuse to get close again. When Mason is older, if he wants to look for me, I will be here. But you two never step foot in this house again. Liam stood up. He looked at me with a hatred that no longer scared me. This does not end here. Yes, it does. And if you try to contact me, if you try to come back, if you try anything, I go straight to the police. This agreement is only valid as long as you stay far away from me. They left without saying more. Patty came in with Mason from the garden. The boy asked why his mom and dad looked so angry. Patty told him adults sometimes had difficult conversations, but everything would be okay. They left. I heard the car drive away. And then, only then, did I allow myself to cry. Patty hugged me. It's over. It's done. It's done? I lost my son. I lost my grandson. You lost a man who never truly loved you, and you saved your life, your house, your dignity. Robert arrived half an hour later. He reviewed the signed agreement. This is legally binding. If they break it, we can proceed with charges immediately. Do you think they will try anything else? No, Liam is a coward. Cowards run when you truly confront them, and he was right. Weeks passed. Then months. Liam never tried to contact me. He changed his number. He moved to another state, according to a distant cousin. He disappeared from my life as completely as he had planned to disappear with my money. The house felt empty at first. I missed Sundays with Mason. I missed believing I had a family that loved me. But slowly, that loneliness transformed into peace. Patty came to visit me every week. I started going out more. I joined a group of women my age at church. I made new friends, real friends who wanted nothing from me except my company. One afternoon, 6 months after everything, I was sitting in my garden drinking tea when I received a letter. It was from Mason. He was 8 years old now. The letter said, in childish handwriting, that he missed me, that his dad had told him I was angry with them, but that he loved me and hoped to see me someday. I cried reading that letter. But I also smiled, because I understood I did the right thing. I protected my life, my assets, my dignity, and someday, when Mason was big enough to understand, I could tell him the truth. My name is Margaret Sullivan. I am 64 years old. I was betrayed by my own son. but I did not allow him to destroy me. I learned that self-love is more important than the love we beg for, that dignity has no price, and that it is never too late to defend what is yours. My house is mine. My money is mine. My life is mine. And finally, after so many years, I am free.